All right, it is that time. We have reached the end of the year. It is the end of 2022, which means I'm going to be giving you guys my top 40 albums of 2022. I just did my top 50 songs of 2022 if you guys want to check that out. Yeah, this was a amazing year for music. So many good albums, so many good projects. It was really hard to narrow it down to 40. Before I start the list, I do want to give a few honorable mentions to some albums that just didn't make the cut but are still really good and worth checking out. And that includes Beach House, Once Twice Melody, Big Thief, Dragon, New Warm Mountain, I Believe in You, Always, Blue Rev, the 1975, Being Funny in a Foreign Language, Brockhampton, The Family, and lastly, Carly Rae Jepsen, The Loneliest Time. All good albums. I wish they could have made the list, but they didn't make the cut. But with that being said, let's get into my list. These are my top 40 albums of 2022. At number 40, we have Kilo Kish with American Girl, a pretty unique experimental hip-hop album where Kilo comes together with some really cool ideas, fusing in electronic music and like house music. Really nice listen. Number 49, I have Gene Dawson with Chaos Now. Gene Dawson continuing to incorporate so many cool elements of hip-hop, alternative rock, pop music, and it comes together really well. At number 38, I have Earl Sweatshirt with Sick. Earl Sweatshirt has been one of my favorite rappers for a long time now. It's not one of his best albums, but still, the guy is such a great rapper that his albums always turn out quality. At number 37, I have Red Veil with Learn to Swim. Red Veil, only 18 years old, displays so much talent on this album. This guy just continues to grow. He stepped it up as a lyricist, stepped it up as a producer on this one. It's going to be really interesting to see what this guy does 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line. At number 36, I have Joey Badass with 2000, a sequel to his classic mixtape 1999, which sees him going back to those sounds that made him so successful, but with a bit more maturity. At number 35, I have Boldy James and Real Bad Man with Killing Season. Boldy James dropped so many projects this year, but this one was probably my favorite. Real Bad Man gave even better beats to Boldy than their last collab together, and in terms of Boldy's rapping, he's proving why he's one of the best in the game. At number 34, I have Toro y Moi with Mahal. This is simply one of the grooviest and funkiest albums of the year. I just like the concept of this album, making it so it feels like you're in a road trip listening to these great songs. At number 33, I have Metro Boomin, Heroes and Villains. Metro made a even bigger improvement with this album compared to his last. Love the theme of a dark villainous sound on this, and the features really come through. At number 32, I have Wise Blood with In Darkness Hearts Glow. Another gorgeous album from Wise Blood. I just love her vocals. I love her songwriting. I love everything about her. She just doesn't really miss. At number 31, I have DOMi and JD BECK with Not Tight. This duo are one of my favorite artists that I learned about this year. They're such talented producers, and on this album, they really fused hip hop and jazz and all different types of sounds really nicely together. At number 30, I have Westside Gunn with 10. Really up there for one of my favorite projects from Westside. Westside rapping at a high level as always, while bringing in some of the best hip hop producers in the game and some of the best features you're going to hear on a hip hop album all year. At number 29, I have underground hip hop legend Billy Woods with Aethiops. In terms of the underground scene, you're not going to find much rappers out there better than Billy. The stories this man paints with his bars is unlike anyone else ever. It is filled with excellent production too. At number 28, I have beabadoobee with Beatopia. Beabadoobee had a breakout year this year, and for good reason. I think she's super talented, and this album shows why. I really love how she incorporates 90s and early 2000s sound in her music. Really impressive songwriting too. I can't wait to see what beabadoobee does in the future. At number 27, I have Freddie Gibbs with Soul Sold Separately. Freddie, for the first time in a while, straying away from the straight up producer and rapper collabs. Also dipped his toes in a bit of a mainstream sound while not losing what makes him so good as a rapper. Definitely one of the best hip hop projects of the year. At number 26, I have Ab-Soul Herbert. After 6 long years, Ab-Soul comes back with one of his most personal and heartfelt albums. He has not lost a step as a rapper. His word plays, his rhyme schemes are all still there. And starting off with the top 25, we have Lupe Fiasco with Drill Music in Zion. One of the most lyrically dense hip-hop albums of the year here from Lupe. The fact that he was able to make this in 24 hours is kind of unheard of. Nonetheless, one of his best projects in a long time. At number 24, I have Quadeca with I Didn't Mean to Haunt You. Quadeca really impressed me with this album. A lot of the sounds that he was kind of tapping into on his last album, I think really come into fruition on this one. A really sick ambient experimental noise, all of that elements come up on here. And just the creativity of what the album is about, you know, through the lens and perspective of someone that is dead, a ghost. Shout out to Quadeca because I really wasn't aware that he can come up with something so creative as this. At number 23, I have Kenny Beats with LOUIE. Easily the best beat project of the year, in my opinion. Really glad that after so long, we finally got a solo beats project from Kenny. Really love how he incorporated so many artists into this album in such subtle ways. And I also really like how it pays homage to his father. At number 22, I have Rosalia with Moto Mami. Rosalia trying all sorts of new ideas on this album right here, and a lot of them stick. In terms of the Latin music landscape right now, there is nobody doing anything like what Rosalia is doing, so shout out to her. At number 21, I have Benny the Butcher with Tana Talk 4. Classic Benny the Butcher on this. As AMC, he is simply one of the best out. I also think on this album, he stepped up a lot of his song ideas. Definitely up there for one of Benny's best albums. If you like Benny and you know what he does and raps about, it's just more of that. And I couldn't stop replaying this album. Now we are cracking into the top 20 here, and at the number 20th spot, I have Amber Mark with 3 Dimensions Deep. Amber Mark is just riddled with so much talent. She incorporates a lot of soul and R&B into this album. I don't see why she won't be a star very soon. Love her as a vocalist and a songwriter too. I really hope big things are to come from her because she really deserves it. At number 19, I have Vince Staples with Ramona Park Broke My Heart. I've been a Vince Staples fan for a very long time. Last album, the self-titled one, I loved that one. I love the sound of that. And that sound comes back onto this one. This time around, we're finally getting a more lengthy album from Vince. I just love his style of rapping. Just another really good album for Vince's catalog. At number 18, I have Little Simz with No Thank You. This album came out super late in the year, but Simz connecting on a lot of the things that made her past few albums really great. Some of the most grand production I heard on a hip-hop album all year, and Simz using a lot of cool gospel elements. And just like with her other albums, on this one, Simz really dives deep in topically on these songs. So many important topics and issues being discussed here. Little Simz, one of the best. At number 17, I have Pusha T, It's Almost Dry. More great coke raps from King Push. Production from Pharrell and the other guy. Great beats, great bars from one of the best rappers of all time. Of course, it's good. At number 16, I have Smino with Love for Rent. You know, for a long time, I've always liked Smino as a personality. I've always liked his voice. I thought he had a lot of talent, but there was never an album I can go to and say that I really liked or enjoyed or loved. That is until this one. I think Smino really comes together with some of his best songs on this. So many great melodies that really stick to your head. And like I said before, the guy is just so charismatic. There's not many people out there that sound anything like him. Glad I can say I finally really love a project from this guy. And starting off the top 15, I have Sudan Archives with Nacho Brown Prom Queen. This album is just so excellent. Just as a musician, Sudan Archives, a violinist, she is just one of the most impressive people out there. She explores a lot of pop, a lot of electronic, a lot of R&B. There's really not one sound in particular that you can use to describe this album, but it's loaded with charisma and so many damn good songs. At number 14, I have Nas and Hit Boy with King's Disease 3. Nas and Hit Boy coming through with their third installment in the King's Disease series. The two of these guys have really clicked on something together in terms of chemistry because they have not missed yet. Hit Boy continuing to bring awesome beats, and Nas still being one of the best rappers of all time. At number 13, I have Ari Lennox with Sex, Age, Location. Probably the best R&B album of the year, in my opinion. This album is smooth, it's sexy. I think she came through with her best album to date on this. Love how she kind of uses R&B sounds from every single era, 90s, 2000s, modern. Ari Lennox, hell yes. At number 12, I have SZA with SOS. We finally got a new SZA album this year, and she delivered. delivered. Honestly, this could have been a lot higher on my list, but it just came out so late in the year. But since it's been out, I haven't stopped replaying it. SZA is simply one of the best vocalists and songwriters in the mainstream that we have, and she really went all out for this new album. She tries out pop punk, she tries out more pop sounds, she tries a little bit of rapping on this. She explored a lot of cool stuff on this, and it was well worth the wait. And at number 11, I have Black Midi, Hellfire. Black Midi first got on my radar last year with that album they put out, but it was this one that really stopped me in my tracks this year. Honestly, one of the best concept albums you will ever hear. Whenever I listen to this album, it really is the soundtrack to hell. Love how all of these songs are for the most part about certain characters that all seem to be going to hell. And I haven't even got into how insane the instrumentation is on this album. Just super aggressive post-punk and jazz mixed all in. A one of a kind album. It deserves all the love it's getting. Now we have reached the top 10, and coming in at my number 10 spot, I have Black Thought and Danger Mouse with Cheat Codes. One of the best rappers of all time coming together with one of the best producers of all time. It truly is a cheat code. The beats that Danger Mouse provides are luxurious and a perfect fit for Black Thought. Easily one of the most lyrically conscious hip-hop albums of the year. I mean, it's Black Thought. What else can you expect? He really is a top rapper of all time, and this album proves why. At number 9, I have Steve Lacy with Gemini Rights. This album, I think Steve finally hit the nail on the head, executing all of the things that made him so interesting in his past projects. Not only that, but this album also has some of the most catchiest songs of the year. Obviously, Bad Habit, as well as Helmet, as well as Sunshine. Also loved how he dipped a little bit into Latin sounds too with Mercury. As long as Steve continues what he was doing here, he's gonna make even better albums. At number 8, I have Black Country New Road with Ants From Up There. This is probably the best instrumentation I heard on an album, not only this year, but in like a very long time. Everything about this is gorgeous, from the string arrangements to the chords to the horns, and just what Isaac Wood does here in terms of how he writes and just how his vocals are and what his delivery is. It all just hits home. It's unfortunate that he had to leave the group, but ultimately his mental health is more important. I hope he gets better, and maybe someday he will be able to join the group again, because he just adds something to them that no other group has ever had. Like the place where he inserted the blade, like one of the best songs I ever heard. Damn. Coming in at number 7, I have Conway the Machine with God Don't Make Mistakes. Easily the most personal and emotionally honest album Conway has ever made. He really got introspective on this album that no Griselda album has really ever done. And you have songs like that, and you also have songs that remain to that classic Griselda sound with the amazing bars and grimy production. And I honestly think I can say it is my favorite project from Griselda ever. At number 6, I have The Weeknd with Dawn FM. This album came out really early in the year, and I feel like it didn't get the respect it deserved. The more I have listened to this album, the more it has came maybe my favorite Weeknd project. On this album, he somehow managed to get even more 80s than what he was doing on After Hours. I just love this 80s synth pop sound from him. He's just executing it at a level better than anyone else since he started doing it a few years ago. Just so many catchy and groovy songs on this one. Also love the radio theme on the album too. I really just hope he continues this 80s synth pop stuff because he is excellent at it. And now starting off the top 5, at number 5, I have Denzel Curry with Melt Your Eyes, See Your Future. Denzel, for the most part, going full on jazz rap on this album. And in terms of the lyricism on this, I do think it's Denzel's most open and personal album. You still get a hint of more of the aggressive sound that made him so popular. However, Denzel is just continuing to mature a lot, and he is on a run right now of excellent albums. He is just one of the best artists we have. And at number 4, I have FKA Twigs with CAPRISONGS. This is one of my favorite projects from Twigs. I just love how she explored so many different genres. You have some dance sounds here, you have some electronic sounds, you have some reggae sounds. She even tries out some drill on this. Just such a addictive album, honestly, and I think a lot of that has to do with how fun it is. FKA Twigs continuing to do great things creatively. And now we are at the top 3, and at number 3, I have Kendrick Lamar, Mr. Morale, and the Big Steppers. Yes, Kendrick finally came back. There were points where I thought it would never happen, but he did, and he delivered with Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. I really like how much Kendrick opens up on this album. You know, that first disc being about the Big Steppers, being about his issues that he is going through, talking about seeking therapy, and then I think in that second disc with the Mr. Morale part, really comes to grips with everything. A lot of songs on here with such great storytelling. A song like We Cry Together, like one of the most artistic rap songs I've ever heard. And I honestly think this album solidifies him as one of the greats, honestly. So glad Kendrick is back, and this album was very much worth the wait. Speaking of albums that were worth the wait, at number 2, I have Beyoncé Renaissance. Yes, Beyoncé, after her long hiatus, returned with this album, paying homage to the electronic and dance scene. This is easily one of the nicest and cleanest produced pop albums I've heard in a long time. And I just love how Beyoncé pays homage to that sound, bringing in a lot of people to help execute it really well. And I just love how liberating this album is in terms of the songwriting. It's just one of the most replayable albums of the year for me, and that's why it's at the number 2 spot. And now, finally, number 1, my number 1 spot, my album of the year for 2022 is JID The Forever Story. You know, I juggled for a little bit with whether or not this would be my album of the year, but honestly, what really solidified it was when he dropped the extended version, and the track 2009 was put as the closer, and I just think is a perfect ending to this album. This album is just so versatile. You have hard-hitting rap songs, you have songs that can really focus in deep lyrically, you have songs like Cody Blue 31, where JID is singing too. This guy is really just the full package. I haven't even begun to talk about how unique the flows are, how good his wordplay is, how good his rhyme scheme is. There's nothing this guy can't do. And the scariest part about all this is I think he can make an album that is better than this. That's how much talent this guy is gifted with. Yeah, but this album is amazing. One of the best hip-hop albums I've heard in a long time. Yeah, my album of the year, JID The Forever Story. And yep, that's it. That's my top 40 albums of 2022. What a amazing year it honestly was for music. I hope that 2023 is just as good or better. Let me know in the comments what your guys' favorite albums of 2022 were, and that's pretty much it. If you guys want, you can follow me on all my socials, TikTok, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, all that, and I'll see you guys soon.